Well, you take some popcorn, you put it in the pan, and you shake it around just as fast as you can. Put in some salt, and you pour on some oil, and you wait for it all to begin to boil. What do you got? You've got the poppity popcorn. Oh, yeah. You got the poppity popcorn. Oh, yeah. Now little Jimmy was all alone 'cause his mother left him there at home. She went off to the grocery store to buy some more popcorn. Little Jimmy didn't know what to do, so he decided to call in his dog Spot. He said, "Here, Spot," and Spot said, "Ruff," 'cause he was just a dog. He said, "Stand there, Spot," and he climbed up onto Spot's back, up onto the shelf, and opened up the top cupboard door where there were 2 3-pound bags of popcorn and a gallon of popcorn oil stored. He had a popcorn pot. He put it on the stove and turned it up to super hot pop. Poured in a gallon of oil and 1.5 pounds of popcorn. Waited for it all to begin to boil. You know what he got? He got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Well, pretty soon there's popcorn just flying through the air. There's popcorn landing in the sink. There's popcorn in his hair. There's popcorn in the air. There's popcorn on the floor. And little Jimmy knew his mother wouldn't love him anymore. He had the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Spot, what are we gonna do? Mama isn't gonna love us anymore. He saw that popcorn 3 feet deep on the floor. Then he saw the pot begin to smoke, and he knew that he was in the middle of a bad joke. Time to turn off the popcorn. He tried, and the handle came off in his hand up around super hot pop. He knew that he couldn't stop the stove anymore, so he decided it was time to try and put the whole mess out. The only other liquid around was the other gallon of popcorn oil. He put it on and it began to boil. He got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Poppity popcorn. Remembering his Cub Scout training, he remembered you could put out a fire with sand. The only thing around that looked like sand was the other 3-pound bag of popcorn. He poured it in, and pretty soon he had 5 feet of popcorn. Popcorn flying through the air, landing in his mother's geranium plant, given to him by his favorite aunt. There was popcorn in his clothes. There was even a piece up his nose. It was terrible. He had the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Spot, where are you? All he could see a Spot was a little tail wagging around on the floor underneath 3 or 4 feet of popcorn. He decided he was trying to call in help, so he ran across the street after opening up the kitchen door. And he got to the firebox and he called for Spot. Spot came rolling across the street. He said, "Spot, stand there." Spot stood there. He climbed up onto Spot's back and he pulled on the firebox door down there and got on the telephone, and the fire chief came out and said, "What's the matter, kid?" "My mother doesn't love me anymore." "Why not?" "I've got the poppity popcorn." Oh yeah! Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! "What do you mean, kid?" "Well, you see, Johnny tried to tell him what had happened. He said, "Where do you live, kid?" "In my house." "Where's that?" "On the corner." Just then, of course, the stove had caught on fire, and the stove had fallen into the basement after eating its way through the kitchen floor. And down in the basement there was a room with 400,000 pounds of popcorn and 3,000 gallons of popcorn oil. It all started on fire, of course, the stove and everything, and popcorn began to pop all over. There was 4,000 kernels of popcorn coming out of little Jimmy's chimney, going up into the stratosphere, landing all over town. Cars were stopping on the streets. Kids coming home from school couldn't believe what they were seeing. Meanwhile, Jimmy's mother down at the grocery store, she couldn't move anymore because there was 6 feet of popcorn coming down all over town. Well, the fire chief called up the mayor, and the mayor, it seems, wasn't there, so he decided to call up the governor of the state of Illinois. You see, the popcorn had landed on the railroad tracks, and 2 trains had collided. One of them was carrying a 1.5 mile long train full of popcorn from Iowa, and the other was carrying soybean oil from someplace else. They fell in a ditch, and the hydroelectric generators on the trains caught it all on fire, and of course the whole buckle of the corn belt began to blow up. It was wonderful. Planes at O'Hare Field couldn't be seen. Couldn't land. Radar didn't help any. A whole bunch of unguided missiles. We've got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah! Meanwhile, Jimmy was back at the telephone pole, and Spot was just eating it up. Well, the governor of the state of Illinois called out the National Guard and issued them all salt and pepper shakers and told them to eat popcorn. And they gave them shovels and told them to shovel the stuff in the back of trucks. And one of the guys asked him where they should dump it. He said Lake Michigan, but it was already too late. Lake Michigan was covered over with 3.5 feet of soggy popcorn. Captain Crunch was seen floating by, crawling out won't wilt in milk, never said popcorn. He drowned, of course. They determined later it was popcorn of the lung. You've got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Well, the governor called up the president of the United States, said, "Mr. President." The president answered. He said, "We got a problem here. We got popcorn coming down all over Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio." President said, "Well, that's a problem you'll have to handle. I like jelly beans myself." I've got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Well, the president finally called out the Army, the Navy, the National Guard, the Marines, the ladies down at the DAR, and some of the boys down at the BAR. Told them all to eat popcorn. And just then, of course, he got a call on the little red telephone on his desk. Seems that popcorn had been getting up into the jet stream and being blown all around the world. People in Moscow were opening up their mouths and pointing towards the sky, seeing U.S.-made popcorn. People in China were getting the first decent meal they'd had in 100 years. It was exceptional. You've got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Meanwhile, out in space, something out of the human race was looking down from miles and miles above the ground. One of it turned to the other of it and said, "Seat, seat," which means, "You see what I see?" And the other one said, "Seat's out," which means, "Sure do, baby, what's happening?" Whole world's turning white in less time than a day and night. Well, you want to know the end of this story, though my story's kind of gory, is that the whole world got popped. You've got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Take some popcorn, you put it in the pan, and you shake it around just as fast as you can. Put in some salt, and you pour on some oil, and you wait for it all to begin to boil. What do you got? You've got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. You got the poppity popcorn. Oh yeah. Meanwhile, Spot ate and ate and he ate and he ate until he popped. I'm a reacher and a teacher, something of a preacher. I'm a reacher for the young folks' souls. I try to teach them things that make their lives better. I try to teach them in all kinds of weather. Try to be good to even kids who are bad. But let me tell you about the troubles I've had. I've been coughed on, hacked on, wheezed on and sneezed on. I'm a reacher for the young folks' minds. I've had the chicken pox, the smallpox, the pellagra and flu. And that's right, kids, I got it all from you. 'Cause I'm a reacher, a teacher, something of a preacher. I'm a reacher for the young folks' souls. I've been lied on, cried on, spied on, and tried on. I'm a reacher for the young folks' minds. Mother and the father and the sister and the brother. I'm all of those at some time. I'm a reacher and a teacher, something of a preacher. I'm a reacher for the young folks' souls. Stay away from me, kid with that old runny nose. And I don't like the smell of your unwashed clothes. Please, kid, won't you get away from me? I know I'm a teacher and it's the land of the free, but I don't want to catch what you got. But I'm a reacher and a teacher, something of a preacher. I'm a reacher for the young folks' minds. I try to teach you just a little democracy. Try to teach you about how to be free. But you bring all these diseases here into class and smile at me pretty and say, do I pass? I'm a reacher and a teacher, something of a preacher. I'm a reacher for the young folks' souls. I've been coughed on, hacked on, wheezed on, and sneezed on. I'm a reacher for the young folks' minds. I've gotta be good even when I'm feeling bad, and I've always got to look real kind. Kids, you know I love you inside and out, but sometimes I wanna go and shout, please won't you just stay away from me for a while with that smile. What happened to your teeth, kid? Where'd they go? A reacher and a teacher, something of a preacher, a reacher for the young folks' minds. It's Jello. I've got Jello eyeballs, a Jello brain. Look out, my Jello windows at the Jello rain. Coming from the Jello clouds, hitting the Jello ground again, my friend. That's right, it's Jello. It's worse than Elmer's, homogenized, pasteurized, all-purpose, heavy-duty, clear, quick drying with bonding glue. Hey, 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 hey. Well, I got a Jello dog with Jello teeth, and I took him outside the other Jello week, and he started to chase the Jello mailman away, ran and bit him in 14 places, but that didn't hurt the mailman a bit because the dog's teeth were made out of, you guessed it, Jello. They just sort of melted and ran down the man's pant leg. Well, I took that dog inside the house and clamped in a new tooth Jello mold. Dog was as good as new. It's Jello. And it's worse than Elmer's, homogenized, pasteurized, all-purpose, heavy-duty, clear, quick drying wood bonding glue. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey. Well, I looked outside my Jello door the other day, seen the Jello white truck come to take me away. Those Jello white men in their Jello white coats said they'd do me no harm as they took me by each arm and threw me in the back of that Jello truck. It was just my luck. The thing had Jello wheels, went round and round, took me all over Jello town, right up to Jello Funny Farm. They came and they took me away. I got Jello eyeballs, a Jello brain. Look out, my Jello windows at the Jello rain. Coming from the Jello clouds, hitting the Jello ground again, my friend. That's right, it's Jello. Time out now for a word from our sponsor. It's Royal Pudding Time. Remember, this program is being brought to you by Betty Crocker and General Mills. Remember, the big G stands for gross. Time out now to tell you what Jello's all about. Jello is a colloidal suspension made up of tiny particles of gelatin held together by kinetic energy, which sometimes escapes when heat is present. There I was, climbing the walls, creating a heck of a lot of pressure on the end of my fingernails, when sure enough, heat was created, the kinetic energy escaped, the colloidal suspension broke down, and my fingernails melted. I fell to the floor, but it didn't hurt anymore because the floor was made out of, you guessed it, Jello. And it's worse than Elmer's, homogenized, pasteurized, all-purpose, heavy-duty, clear, quick drying wood bonding glue. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 it's Jello. Well, the preacher went out a-walking, it was on one Sunday morn. Of course, it was against his religion, but he took his gun along. Well, he shot himself some mighty fine quail and one little measly hare. But on his way returning home, he met a great big grizzly bear. Now the bear sat down in the middle of the road, just as mean as he could be. And the preacher, he commenced to shaking, and he climbed up a persimmon tree. Well, he rolled his eyes, and he shook his head, and he opened up his mouth. And when that preacher began to pray, you could hear him for miles about. Oh, Lord, you delivered Daniel from the lion's den, and Jonah from the belly of the whale, and the Hebrew children from the fiery furnace, so the good book do declare. But Lord, Lord, if you can't help me, for goodness sakes, don't you help that bear. Lord, Lord, if you can't help me, for goodness sakes, don't you help that bear. Now the bear began to climb that tree, and that made the preacher sore. The preacher climbed still higher, till he couldn't climb no more. Well, just about then this limb give way, and they both come a-tumbling down. And when that preacher hit the ground, you could hear him for miles around. He was praying real fast, because the bear was dropping on top of him. Oh, Lord, you delivered Daniel from the lion's den, and Jonah from the belly of the whale, and the Hebrew children from the fire furnace, so they go back to declare. Lord, Lord, if you can't help me, for goodness sakes, don't you help that bear. The bear landed on top of him. They fought all the way down to the river. It was a terrible fight. That bear was really laying it on, but, well, preacher was doing all right. 3 times down, down in the water, and then the bear got loose and limped away. When the preacher pulled himself from the mud, these are the words he did say. Oh, Lord, you delivered Daniel from the lion's den, and Jonah from the belly of the whale, and then. Now, Lord, it may not seem like much from where you sit up there, But the hardest job I've ever done was baptizing that bear. That's the story of the preacher and the bear. How'd you like to be the only lightning bug in town? How'd you like to be the only one quite like you around? Am I too early or am I too late? You know I'd anticipated having a date. How'd you like to be the only lightning bug in town? Here comes the chorus. Blink. Do it with me now, kids. Blink. One more time. Blink. Not a star in the sky, not a light to be found. I'm the only lightning bug in town. Don't you know that my tail's on fire and I'm just a flying here higher and higher? How'd you like to be the only lightning bug in town? How'd you like to be the only one quite like you around? Am I too early or am I too late? I had anticipated having a date. How'd you like to be the only lightning bug in town? Blink. Blink one more time. Now get away, ladybug, I don't like your style. Red with black spots never made me smile. Gypsy moth, you travel too much for me. There's only one thing that I wanna see. Another lightning bug flying high above, blinking out a sign that only means love. Ah, come on, ladybug, go away. I wanna find another lightning bug today. How'd you like to be the only lightning bug in town? How'd you like to be the only one quite like you around? I must be too early or maybe too late. I'm getting kinda lonely to have my date. How'd you like to be the only one quite like you around? Blink. Come on, guys, I know you're out there somewhere. Blink. Joke's gone on too long, I'm getting kinda lonely. Not a star in the sky, not a light to be found. There are no lights here in this town. All I see are mosquito things, and there's nothing here that makes me sing. How'd you like to be the only lightning bug in town? Don't like fireflies either. Blink, come on now. I guess it's time for me to go and incubate. I've just had myself a long wait. Oh, come on, babes, the joke's gone on too long. I guess this is the lightning bug song. Come on now. Well, I have a little daughter, and my daughter's name is Kate, and she's every bit as mischievous as a kitten on a skate, with a bandage on her forehead and the bruises on her knees. You'd swear she fought the Buccaneers on all the 7 seas. It's up the stairs and down the stairs and in the house and out. Like a miniature tornado, she can tear the house about. Take an angel with a devil in the twinkling of an eye. That's my Katy, little lady, and I love her. Now you might believe in miracles, you might believe in saints, but you never believe my Katy when she's playing with her paints. For there's red upon the window and there's red upon the wall, in her hair and on her face, but on the paper not a trace. When she's in her room and quiet and there comes a little calm, you develop the sensation that you're sitting on a bomb. Take an angel with the devil in the twinkling of an eye. That's my Katy, little lady, and I love her. Now you might have heard of daddies who will dote upon their girls, who get wrapped around their fingers by the tossing of the curls, who respond to hugs and kisses, tell there's nothing they wouldn't do. Don't you believe a word of it, it simply isn't true. I'd only jump the moon for her, I'd only swim the seas for the hugs I get to give her and the kisses she gives to me. Take an angel with the devil in the twinkling of an eye, that's my Katy, little lady, and I love her. When he climbs up on my knee, he is so dear to me. To me he'll always be that little boy of mine, with a tiny turned up nose and cheeks just like a rose, pink from head to toe. He's that little boy of mine. No one will ever know what his coming has meant, but I'm telling you boys, it was from heaven that he was sent. So when he climbs up on my knee, he is so dear to me. To me he'll always be that little boy of mine. I'm gonna wrap myself in paper, I'm gonna stick myself with glue, put a stamp on the top of my head, I'm gonna mail myself to you. Doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doo, doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doo. When you find me in your mailbox, open the door and let me out. Fill me up with ice cream sodas and put some bubble gum in my mouth. Doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doo, doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doo. Mama, there's a dragon in the driveway. Daddy, there's a bear out on the lawn. You better come quick, 'cause there's a hippo in my bathtub. You better come quick, 'cause he's gone. I give you now Professor Twist, a conscientious scientist. Trustees exclaimed he never bungles and sent him off to distant jungles. While camped out by the riverside, one day he missed his loving bride. She had, the guide informed him later, been eaten by an alligator. Professor Twist, he could but smile. You'll mean, of course, he said, a crocodile. If all the ground were scarlet and all the trees cerise, if all the grass were purple, how could our eyes find peace? I look at grassy hillsides, at trees that rise serene, and faith I thank the Father for the wearing of the green. I've always had the warm desire to visit old Erin's Isle and meet the Irish people with their charming Irish smile. I'd love to see the shamrocks grow in fields of grassy green. 'Twould remind me of me mother, for she was a sweet colleen. Ah, to be there on St. Patrick's Day and view the parade so grand, and listen to the music of old McNamara's band. For sure I'll kiss the Blarney Stone and make a wish or two. According to the leprechauns, those wishes will come true. So if all the ground were scarlet and all the trees cerise, if all the grass were purple, how could our eyes find peace? I look at grassy hillsides, at trees that rise serene, and faith I thank the Father for the wearing of the green. Oh, me name is Dick Darby, I'm a cobbler. I served me time at the old camp. Some call me an old agitator, but now I'm resolved to repent. With me ing twing of an ing ting of an ido, with me ing twing of an ing ting of an ide, with me roo-boo-boo, Randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. Now my father was hung for sheep stealing, me mother was burned for a witch, me sister's a dandy housekeeper, and I'm a mechanical switch. With me ing twing of an ing ting of an ido, with me ing twing of an ing ting of an ide, with me roo-boo-boo, Randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. Ah, these 40 long years I have traveled, all by the contents of me pack. Me hammers, me yawls, and me pinchers, I carry them all on me back. With me ing twing of an ing ting of an ido, with me ing twing of an ing ting of an ide, with me roo-boo-boo, Randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. Ah, me wife, she's humpy, she's lumpy. Me wife, she's the devil, she's black. And no matter what I may do with her, her tongue it goes clickety-clack. With me ing twing of an ing ting of an ido, with me ing twing of an ing ting of an ide, with me roo-boo-boo, Randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. It was early one fine summer's morning, a little before it was day. I dipped her 3 times in the river, and I carelessly bade her good day. With me ing twing of an ing ting of an ido, with me ing twing of an ing ting of an ide, with me roo-boo-boo, Randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. Oh, are we recording? Oh, the barefoot boy with shoes on went walking down the street. His hands were full of pockets and his shoes were full of feet. He was an only child, you know, his mother's pride and joy. His only sister was a girl and his brother was a boy. He was married to a woman who soon became his wife. She weighed 460 pounds, was skinny all her life. She had 100 children and I knew them all quite well. The boys all went to heaven and the girls all went out west. While looking through the knothole in Grandpa's wooden leg, why do they build the shore so near the ocean? And a snake's belt slips because he has no hips, and a boy's best friend is his mother. We gotta redo it anyway. The first time you take a drink, it makes you spit and sputter, shiver and shudder, mumble and mutter, but the next one tastes so sweet, it makes you want another. Now you're drinking all the time. If you're looking for trouble, trouble will find you. Trouble will find you. Trouble will find you. Don't go looking for trouble. Trouble will find you, and you sure don't have to look too hard. The first time you shade the truth, you want to run and hide. Your tongue gets tied, your throat gets dry, and you start to thinking no one maybe knows you lied, and now you're shady all the time. So don't go looking for trouble. Trouble will find you. Trouble will find you. Deaf, dumb, and blind, you don't go looking for trouble. Let me remind you, you got trouble in your own backyard. The first time you fall in love and the skies are sunny, she calls you honey, your jokes are funny, then she reminds you she only wants you to spend your money. Now you're drinking all the time. So don't go looking for trouble. trouble will find you, trouble will find you. Deaf, dumb, and blind, you don't go looking for trouble. Let me remind you, you sure don't have to look too hard. You got trouble in your own backyard. When I was just a wee little lad, full of health and joy, Father homeward came one night and gave to me a toy. A wonder to behold it was, with many colors bright. The moment I laid eyes on it, it became my heart's delight. It went zip when it moved, and bop when it stopped, and whir when it stood still. I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. The first time that it picked it up, I had a big surprise. For right upon its bottom were two big buttons that looked like eyes. I first pushed one and then the other, and then I twisted its lid. And when I set it down again, here is what it did. It went zip when it moved, and bop when it stopped, and whir when it stood still. I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. It first marched left, and then marched right, and then marched under a chair. And when I looked where it had gone, it wasn't even there. I started to cry, my daddy laughed, for he knew that I would find. When I turned around, my marvelous toy was a-chugging up from behind. It went zip when it moved, and bop when it stopped, and whir when it stood still. I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. Now the years have gone by too quickly, it seems. I have my own little boy. And yesterday I gave to him my marvelous little toy. His eyes nearly popped right out of his head, and he gave a squeal of glee. Neither one of us knows what it is, but he loves it just like me. It went zip when it moved, and bop when it stopped, and whir when it stood still. And I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. Well, old Mr. Johnson had troubles all his own. He had an old yeller cat that just would not leave home. Tried everything he knew to get that old cat to stay away. Even took him up to Canada and told him for to stay. But the cat came back the very next day. They thought he was a goner, but the cat came back 'cause he wouldn't stay away. Well, they give a boy $1 for to set that cat afloat, and he took him up the river in a sack and a boat. Well, the fishing it was fine till the news got around that the boat was a-missin' and the boy he was drowned. But the cat came back the very next day. The cat came back 'cause he would not stay away. Meow, kitty, meow, so pretty. Yow, what a pity, but the cat came back. Well, the farmer on the corner said he'd shoot that cat on sight, and he loaded up his gun full of rocks and dynamite. That gun went off, heard all over town. Little pieces of the man was all that they found, but the kitty came back the very next day. They thought he was a goner, but the cat came back 'cause he wouldn't stay away. Well, they finally found a way this cat for to fix. They put him in an orange crate on Route 66. Come a 10-ton truck with a 20-ton load. Scattered pieces of that orange crate all down the road. But the cat came back the very next day. The cat came back and he would not stay away. Meow, kitty, meow, so pretty. Meow, what a pity, but the cat came back. Now they gave him to a man going up in a balloon, and they told him for to leave him with the man in the moon. The balloon got busted back to earth it had, and 7 miles away they picked up the man dead. But the cat came back the very next day. The cat came back and he would not stay away. Meow, kitty, meow, so pretty. Meow, what a pity, but the cat came back. Well, they took him to the shop where all the meat was ground, and they dropped him in the hopper when the butcher wasn't around. Well, the cat disappeared with a blood-curdling shriek, and the town's meat tasted furry for a week. But the cat came back the very next day. The cat came back and he would not stay away. Meow, kitty, meow, so pretty. Meow, what a pity, but the cat came back. Well, they took him to Cape Canaveral, they put him in his place. They shot him in a U.S. rocket going way out in space. Well, they finally thought that cat was out of human reach. Next day they got a call there from Miami Beach. Yes, the cat came back the very next day. The cat came back and he would not stay away. Meow, kitty, meow, so pretty. Meow, what a pity, but the cat came back. I've been wandering early, I've been wandering late, from the New York City to that old Golden Gate, and it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. Daddy is an engineer, my brother drives a hack, Mama takes in the washing while the baby balls a jack. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. I've been wandering early, I've been wandering late, from the New York City to that old Golden Gate. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. Fishes in the ocean, fishes in the sea, blonde-haired woman made a monkey out of me. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. Spent time in the army, spent time down on the farm. All I got to show for it is the muscles in my arm. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. I've been wandering early, I've been wandering late, from the New York City to that old Golden Gate. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. Get you a copper kettle, get you a copper coil, get you some new-made corn mash, and nevermore will you toil. You just lay there by the junipers while that moon shines bright. Watch those old jugs filling in the pale moonlight. My daddy, well, he made whiskey, Granddaddy, he did too. We ain't paid no whiskey tax since 1792. You just lay there by the junipers while that moon shines bright. Watch those old jugs filling in the pale moonlight. Shady Grove, my little love, it's Shady Grove, my darling. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound for the Shady Grove. I wish I had a big fat horse and corn to feed him on. Pretty little girls to take care of him and feed him when I'm gone. Hey, Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, my darling. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound for the Shady Grove. see my Shady Grove, she's standing in the doorway, shoes and stockings in her hands, her bare feet on the floorway. Shady Grove, my little love, it's Shady Grove, my darling. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound for the Shady Grove. Make your fires out of hickory, ash and oak. Don't use no green nor rotten wood, they'll catch you just by the smoke. You just lay there by the junipers while that moon shines bright. Watch those old jugs filling in the pale moonlight. There once was a fisherman who sailed out from Pemlico to catch the bold codfish and the wild mackerel. Oh, when he got to Pemlico, the stormy winds began to blow. His little boat went to wibble-wobble and overboard went he, singing twink-a-doodle-dum, 'twas the highly interesting song he sung. Twink-a-doodle-dum, sang the bold fisherman. He wibbled and wobbled in the water so briny-o. He bellowed and hollered for help, but in vain. Slowly he did slide to the bottom of the silvery tide, but previously to this he cried, "Fare thee well, Mary Jane." Singing twink-a-doodle-dum, 'twas the highly interesting song he sung. Twink-a-doodle-dum, sang the bold fisherman. His ghost walks at midnight by the bedside of his Mary Jane. When he told her how dead he was, said she, "I'll go mad. For if you're as dead as that," said she, "no joy on earth can ever be. Nevermore I'll happy be." And she went raving mad, singing twink-a-doodle-dum, 'twas the highly interesting song she sung. Twink-a-doodle-dum, sang the bold fisherman. Whistle, daughter, whistle, and you shall have a cow. I cannot whistle, mother, I fear I don't know how. But if I had a young man, oh, how happy I would be. For I am tired and oh so weary of my singularity. Whistle, daughter, whistle, and you shall have a sheep. I cannot whistle, mother, and I can only weep. But if I had a young man, oh, how happy I would be. For I am tired and oh so weary of my propriety. Whistle, daughter, whistle, and you shall have a man. I just found out I can, you impudent little daughter, and what makes you whistle now? I'd rather whistle for a man than whistle for a sheep or a cow. One day I was walking, I heard a complaining. I saw an old woman, the picture of gloom. She gazed at the mud on her doorstep. 'Twas raining, and this was her song as she wielded her broom. All life is a toil, and love is a trouble. Beauty will fade, and riches will flee. Pleasures they dwindle, and prices they double, and nothing is as I would wish it to be. There's too much of worriment goes to a bonnet. There's too much of ironing that goes to a shirt. There's nothing that pays for the time you waste on it. There's nothing that lasts us but trouble and dirt. Oh, life is a toil and love is a trouble. Beauty will fade and riches will flee. Pleasures they dwindle and prices they double, and nothing is as I would wish it to be. In March it is mud, it is slush in December. The midsummer breezes are loaded with dust. In fall the leaves litter, in muddy September the wallpaper rots and the candlesticks rust. Our life is a toil and love is a trouble. Beauty will fade and riches will flee. Pleasures they dwindle and prices they double, and nothing is as I would wish it to be. There are worms on the cherries and slugs on my roses, and ants in the sugar and there are mice in my pies. The rubbish of spiders no mortal supposes, ravaging roaches and damaging flies. Our life is a toil and love is a trouble. Beauty will fade and riches will flee. Pleasures they dwindle and prices they double. Nothing is as I would wish it to be. With grease and with grime from corner to center, forever at war and forever alert. No rest for a day lest the enemy enter. I spend my whole life in a struggle with dirt. Last night in my dreams I was stationed forever on a far little rock in the midst of the sea. My one chance of life was a ceaseless endeavor to sweep off the waves as they swept over me. Alas, 'twas no dream, ahead I behold it. I see I am helpless, my fate to avert. She laid down her broom and her apron she folded, and laid down and died, and was buried in dirt. All life is a toil and love is a trouble. Beauty will fade and riches will flee. Pleasures they dwindle and prices they double, and nothing is as I would wish it to be. Grandma sits in her old rocking chair. She has her life in her hands. Tiny squares pieced in distant times. She sits and she rocks and she stares. There's pieces of her life quilted by husband and wife. White lace from an old wedding gown. Faded blue jeans and yesterday's dreams, and parts from an old flannel gown. Sits in her rocking chair, goes to and fro, says to me, come near. I'll tell you of times that have all gone by, times from yesteryears. There's old log cabins and windmills gone round, the Bethlehem star and some dreams. The pieces of quilts just helped me keep all my sanity. There's dog-eyed prairie-sod houses and winter winds that blew, and I knew I had to do quilting to make the winters through. Grandma sits in her old rocking chair. She has her life in her hands. Tiny squares pieced in yesterdays. She sits and she rocks and she stares. Mrs. Gray, that's Grandma, she isn't home today. There's just 2 worn spots on the floor where she was rocking yesterday. They put her in the ground today. The dirt was piled o'er. But I got a quilt made by Grandma. I know that history more and more. Know that history more. It's a long and a dusty road, it's a hot and a heavy load, and the folks that I meet ain't always kind. Some are bad and some are good, some have done the best they could, some have tried to ease my troubling mind. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. I had a friend from home, but he started out to roam. I hear that he's out by Frisco Bay. And sometimes when I've had a few, his voice comes ringing through, and I'm going out to see him some old day. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. Well, I had a little girl one time, she had lips like sherry wine. I loved her till my head went plumb insane. I was too blind to see she was drifting away from me. One day she left on the morning train. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. If you see me passing by and you sit and you wonder why, you wish that you were a rambler too. Nail your shoes to the kitchen floor, lace them up and bar the door. Thank your stars for the roof that's over you. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound. Oh, they called him Super Skier as he sat around the sun deck, for he swore that he would never take a spill. When they finally brought him down, they had to use 3 toboggans to carry all the pieces down the hill. He was coming down the mountain doing 90 miles an hour when he caught an edge on his ski. Well, his slaloms, they were fast, but the slopes, they were faster. That's the last of Super Skier we shall see. Well, he hollered, "What the hell?" as he lined him parallel. He figured there was nothing more to learn. As he started on his way, he shouted, "Andale," assuming that he'd never have to turn. He was zipping down that slope, doing 90 miles an hour, when a mogul flipped him in the air. His jumping form was fine until he ran into that pine, and 2 one-legged skiers left from there. Well, they called him Super Skier as he sat around the sun deck, for he swore that he'd never take a spill. When they finally brought him down, they had to use 3 toboggans to carry all the pieces down the hill. When he left that tree at last, he was moving twice as fast. Both halves were skimming moguls like a feather. He said, "If I must be a split personality, how can I ever keep my knees together?" One ski was headed north and the other headed west, 'cause both of them, you see, were running free. Folks on Little Nell looked up scared as hell, said, "It's a bird, no it's a plane, no it's Super Skier." Well, they called him Super Skier as he sat around the sun deck, for he swore that he would never take a spill. When they finally brought him down, they had to use 3 toboggans to carry all the pieces down the hill. Now the moral of my story, though my story's kinda gory, for all you Sundeck Charlie, there's still hope. Yeah, buy the fastest clothes you can, then talk skiing like a man, but don't let them get you on the slope. Well, they called him Super Skier as he sat around the sun deck, for he swore that he would never take a spill. When they finally brought him down, they had to use 3 toboggans to carry all the pieces down the hill.
Fishies! Come on and eat it! Eat. Shoot.